Have you ever wondered what it's like to grow up Arab in America? A forum next week at UNLV will pose that question to a panel of Arab Americans. Most of them came of age in an era of Middle East wars, terrorism, refugees, and suspicion. The event is put on by the group Hayawati, a nonprofit that takes its name from the Arab word for my identity. Hayawati works to support people growing up in blended cultures. The group's founder, Guinwa Zeineddine, is a UNLV graduate and former Miss Arab USA. Guinwa, welcome to the program.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Guinwa, you grew up Arab in America. Tell us briefly your story and how you ended up being an activist.
Okay, so I moved to the United States. I was about 15 years old. I was born in Canada, raised in the UAE, and then I moved here. It was post 9/11, so I think what I had to go through wasn't as intense as what other Arab Americans had to go through when they were in the States when 9/11 happened. But coming here at such a young age, I was definitely afraid of being judged, and I felt like I might have been a problem in the U.S. So I was very cautious about speaking about my cultural background or even simple details like listening to Arabic music as my parents dropped me off to school. I would always turn down the radio a little bit. But I think as I grew a little older, once I entered college, I became very comfortable with being an Arab and very open about speaking about my experiences as an Arab and what my culture truly is about to other people. And what has really helped me is, I'm not sure if this is like a positive or a negative thing, but when people look at me, they don't automatically think that I'm an Arab. And I think a big reason behind that is because as an Arab woman, people assume that you're covered up. So that's like an indication, oh, she's an Arab, even though it's not really true because the majority of Arab Americans, actually about 70% are Christian, not even Muslim. But being that I am an Arab Muslim and an Arab American, people didn't assume that. So I kind of gave them the opportunity to get to know me as an individual. And once they kind of had a better understanding and they weren't really afraid, then I would be a little bit more open about my cultural background. And that kind of formed more of an understanding.
Well, let me stop you there for a second. If, as you said, people looked at you, they don't think you're Arab. So I'm imagining you didn't go through much discrimination, even though you had this fear. So how did you become an activist?
Because it was around me. I mean, if I didn't experience it, I knew a lot of fellow Arab Americans that did experience it. And I think the reason why I also became an activist is, as I mentioned, I moved here when I was 16, but I do have an 8-year-old brother who goes to elementary school in the States. And that's an experience that I didn't have. But when he comes home, I would hear all the stories that, him and his friends discuss about being an Arab in America and how we're not welcomed and we're different and we are a problem and we're a threat to the U.S. And that definitely concerned me. And I wanted to kind of have or start an organization where every child has the opportunity to express these concerns and learn more about his cultural identity.
Well, I have to ask this question, being that you are Arab and your parents are, were they upset or worried that you are outspoken about this? Do they want you to do this?
It's funny you asked that. They actually, yes, they were a little afraid, mostly my mother, because she feels like it's such a controversial topic that it might possess some problems for me, whether it's in the workforce or in just my personal life. Even coming here to the interview, I had some family members tell me to be careful about speaking so openly about being an Arab. But, I think I'm in America and it's part of my right to kind of have the freedom of speech to discuss who I am and what my culture is all about and what my message is.
Do you still feel that way even with the new administration in Washington, which it's no secret, and I'm not casting aspersions. It's no secret that a lot of Arabs in America probably feel maybe a little threatened.
Absolutely. Speaking of that, I don't really like getting into politics as much, but when, the president was elected, some of the things that my brother had to hear was the fact that he was concerned if, even though he was born in America and he was raised here, he is an American, he was worried about getting, deported because we are an Arab. So it's something that I think the Arab community is a little hesitant or afraid about, and that's why they don't really like to project the fact or be open about the fact that they are Arabs. But I think I'm very comfortable with that right now.
In Las Vegas, can you talk a little bit about what the Arab community is like? A lot of us don't know.
Yeah, unfortunately, I wouldn't be able to give you an official count of the Arab Americans in Nevada because there really isn't a survey, the U.S. Census Bureau just lists us under Caucasian, so there's not really a specific category for Arabs, but it's definitely a growing community. There's a lot of Arab events that happen in Las Vegas, from festivals. We also have an Arab American Chamber of Commerce in Nevada. UNLV actually just had its first Arab American sorority. I was part of Greek life going to UNLV, and there was no such thing as an Arab American sorority, and that kind of started out at UNLV, which I think is a great initiative, and people will be able to have a better understanding of the Arab community.
You know, Las Vegas does also pride itself on sort of being a multicultural haven.
Absolutely.
There's not a lot of hate crime that I've seen in the newspapers. So is it more comfortable here, do you think, than
yes.
other parts of the country?
Absolutely. I think because there isn't a dominant ethnic group in Nevada. It's actually one of the most diverse states, and UNLV was rated one of the top 10 diverse universities in the nation. So I think that's kind of had a positive influence on me, and that's why I probably didn't have to deal with a lot of the discrimination that other Arab Americans had to in different states.
So you're having this forum at UNLV. Well, what's the goal of the forum?
It's definitely to raise awareness, especially with the atmosphere that we live in right now. We hear a lot of things that, the president has said about Arabs and how the hate crime has actually increased against Arab Americans. I wanted to provide awareness to the community, help them better understand what these young Arabs in America go through. I mean, that person could be your child. Yes, he's an Arab, but he's an American at the same time. And there's a lot of different effects that from psychological to, education to how we portray Arabs in the media, and the Syrian crisis as well. We're going to kind of highlight or shed light onto that during the forum. So I guess the vision that I had from that is to kind of spread knowledge and awareness, because through that, I think we can have a sense of understanding within the community.
We're talking about what it's like to grow up Arab in America. That's the subject of an upcoming discussion at UNLV, and we have two of the participants with us. Look for more information about the event at knpr.org. Joining us now is Mohammed Zeineddine. He's a UNLV graduate and current student at the Boyd School of Law. He grew up in the Palestinian territories and Las Vegas. Mohammed, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
Mohammed, how old were you when you came to the United States?
I was 15 years old.
And what were your memories at the time? 15 years ago, it's probably almost about half your life, kind of right around the time that the Middle Eastern war that we are still in broke out. What was it like back then?
A lot of fear, a lot of uncertainty. It was definitely rough times. You come into this country where you're new, you don't know anyone, you don't have family, you don't have friends. You're trying to get accustomed to the culture, while at the same time, in the back of your head, you know that you're not welcomed here.
And you're a pre-adolescent. You're about probably 12 or 13, basically. What was it like in school?
School was also rough. With me, you might not tell I'm an Arab, but my first name is Mohammed. So the first thing, as soon as I introduce myself, right away, people know this is an Arab kid, this is a Muslim kid. So immediately there was a lot of bullying, a lot of harassing, a lot of teasing, a lot of terrorist jokes, a lot of bomb jokes. Some of them were not necessarily bad intention. However, after a while, there's so many bomb jokes you can take until it starts getting to you.
How would you react?
At first, I would just laugh it off. Afterwards, I started feeling more not welcomed, like I didn't belong. And then as I grew older, I kind of learned to more ignore it and just be comfortable with who I am, be comfortable with my identity and my culture.
How did you learn that? I mean, that's a pretty advanced, honestly, thought for somebody in high school to be thinking that way. Were you talking to people about that?
I did. I talked a lot to my mother and my family. I told them how tired I was. I even thought about moving back, but I have a strong mother, and she always encouraged me, like, no, you have to keep pushing forward. You can't let these people get to you.
Guinwa, Zeineddine, you wanted to say something?
Yes, his mother is actually Peruvian, which makes it so great that she was so embracing and of the Arab culture. It's an example about accepting one another as well.
So you got out of high school. You made it through that. Do you think it affected you? The teasing, the name calling, that kind of thing?
I think so. I think it opened my eyes to the discrimination and to the inequality and all the progress that we still have to do in this country. We like to think of America as a place where everybody's equal, that everyone is free, but that's not necessarily true. So going through that has just opened my eyes to what other minorities have to go through, and it kind of encouraged me to go into the field of work that I'm in.
That's what I was wondering. You come from sort of a family of high achievers. You've told me a little bit about your sisters, who one of them is getting a master's in some advanced science. Did it drive you? Did it drive you in your academic endeavors?
Absolutely, yes. My both parents are doctors, so ever since I was a child, they always instilled in me the importance of education, and that pretty much the mind is the strongest weapon that you have.
And why law school?
Because I think that's the best way to correct the wrongs that there exist in this country. The law is a powerful tool, and if it's put into good use, it can do a lot of good for not just Arab Americans or minorities, but for everybody.
Well, you're going to be part of this forum at UNLV, Growing Up Arab in America. What do you hope people who go will get out of it?
I hope that it breaks the stereotypes of what it means to be Arab, what it means to be Muslim in America.
What does it mean?
We're just like anyone else. We're Americans. We wake up every day, we go to work. We want to contribute to our community. We want to take care of our family and our loved ones, and we just want to feel welcome in our country.
Guinwa, Zeineddine, you're organizing this forum for your nonprofit, Hawiyati. What does that group do exactly in Las Vegas?
We do facilitate cultural workshops, language programs, and humanitarian drives. And I think it's important if somebody wants to learn about a specific culture to kind of learn about the languages as well. We host panel discussions like the one we have right now to kind of help raise awareness about different cultures and promote a sense of unity within the community.
I've covered news for many years in this town. I haven't heard a lot about the Arab community, so I'm wondering if it's out there enough that you're getting support from the community in Las Vegas, or what's it like from different groups here?
We are definitely fairly new, but I've received support from different organizations in the Las Vegas community. We actually partnered up with CCSD Las Vegas Libraries to host our Arabic language classes over there. So that was very exciting. They were very open to the idea. We actually also, for our panel, we got sponsored by the Las Vegas Mini Grand Prix, which is awesome. And what's great is the owners of these, organizations aren't even Arab. So that kind of shows the diversity within the Las Vegas community and how open we are to learn about different cultures.
I have one last question. There's a lot of portrayal of Arabs in the media. What do you think media portrayals of the Arabs get wrong in movies, TV, almost everywhere?
I personally don't think there's enough of a representation of Arabs in the media. And if there is, it's always in the role of being the bad guy. I mean, I would love to see Arabs, whether it's in, acting or hosting or being a journalist or whatever it is in the media, to hold positions other than the typical position that we've seen, such as, being a terrorist or whatnot. So I would love to see that change, hopefully soon.
And Mohammed Nasseddine, what do you think?
I actually disagree a little bit. I believe that the media has become the source of the stereotypes that we see in America about being Arab and being Muslim. Unfortunately, because of all the conflicts we have in the Middle East, it's part of that is you have to dehumanize the enemy because it's much easier to kill a something versus a person. So I think the media has become part of that dehumanization. Every day you turn on your TV, you see just Arabs shooting at each other with weapons, just violence, war. So when the average American sees that day after day, that's all they know, that's all they see. So that's all they think we are as a people, just violent jihadists who just engage in war all the time.
What would you like to see differently?
I think it'd be nice if the media would portray us as who we are, just regular people who get up every day and we go to work and come home, have dinner, and go to sleep.
And Guinwa, you wanted to add to that?
Yes, definitely. I do agree. I think there is a representation, but it's not a positive representation. And there's always two sides of the story. And I think the media tends to highlight maybe the negative parts. And let's be realistic. I think there's, good and bad in every culture, or there's actions from certain people that come from a certain culture that kind of ruins it for everybody else. And I would hope the media would kind of highlight the positive work that Arabs or different ethnic groups are doing in their community.
Guinwa Zeineddine is putting on a forum February 9th at UNLV on Growing Up Arab in America. She joined us with Boyd Law student Mohammed Nasseddine, a panelist at the event. Details are at knpr.org. I want to thank both of you for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.